Today on the Tim Marner podcast show for the second time, got my mate, my friend, which I'm actually quite proud to say, Caroline Britton, intuitive coach, energy healer. It's so hard to describe what you do because I'm like, she's a business coach, right? But you're so much more than that. But I try and get people in with you as a business coach, and then all of a sudden things unravel and thinking, oh shit. Should we start off with a story?
Okay.
Tell me a story.
Tell me a story.
Something that's happened recently that's going to blow my mind.
Oh God, Tim, throw me right in the deep end. Something that's happened recently that's going to blow your mind. Well, which one do I pick?
Is it that many?
Yeah, oh yeah, like loads. So I have had a lot of experiences recently around mediumship with like people coming through who've passed like really specific details, and that has been like crazy things. Like we talked a little bit, didn't we, in the last podcast about being clairsentient, clairaudience, so I can feel things, hear things. I've had some really extraordinary ones, like being able to taste things. So like if people have passed and they used to smoke, being able to like taste tobacco at the back of my throat, that's been a really weird thing that's opened up.
You've had that before?
Yeah, a little bit, but not to like this extent. So I started...
And what's the reason that it's happened?
I think you just start opening up more and more. And another thing for me is I've been on this massive health kick for the last 3 months. So I haven't really been drinking, I've been eating well, I've been like doing loads of fitness. And I think the cleaner you are, the clearer your channel is. So I've had extraordinary things happen. I was just telling Betty on reception, so with my ex-husband, at the beginning of the year on the 1st of January, we were out for a walk, and he has been doing a lot of travel to America and back. And we were walking along, and I just could see him in New York, like setting up all this like office space. It was really weird. And I said, are you planning on going out there again and like setting up all this office space? And he said, no. And then a few weeks later, he got a job offer and he's moved out there for 3 months to New York, and he's doing all of this. So we've had loads of weird things happen where I've been given kind of like glimpses into the future.
But, the tasting's weird, isn't it? Where you taste something.
Yeah, it is weird. And it's often with people who've passed who are like big smokers, and that's how they want to identify themselves. So they kind of give you the taste at the back of your throat, which I still can't quite get my head around because it's such a weird frequency to be able to access, isn't it? But there you go.
How are you developing these skills then? Are you just being more open to them?
Just like trusting it, like trusting whatever it is that wants to come through. And I think it's just like building a relationship and trusting what they give you. And I think that the more that you can lean into it, like any relationship, the more that you can deepen it. So I really trust it. Trust the information that's coming through, the messages that are coming through. It's,
So is that where the intuitive bit comes from? The intuitive coach? How do you describe yourself? What do you...
I call myself an intuitive coach because when I first started my business, I trained to be a life and a business coach. And it was really structured in a way that didn't quite sit with me. So it was like these kind of models, these coaching models that you would use on people. And I just think that everybody's different. So why would one model suit both of us when we need completely different things? So the way that I developed as a coach and a mentor was about sitting in front of somebody and tuning into their energy and looking way beyond the words. So what you'll find often with clients is they'll sit in front of you and they'll tell you something, and actually that's not actually the real thing that's going on behind it. So what I learned is if I listen really carefully to people's language, body language, the words they use, the movements they make, the colours they're wearing, the background they have, how they're kind of leaping between one thing and another, what they're presenting. If you can see beyond the words, there's a lot of messages there. So the more I lent into that, and more I lent into information that was coming from outside of them. So I believe that my spirit team and your spirit team have a conversation, and then we're sort of channeling between us. The more I lent into that, the more I just started knowing and sensing things, and then seeing these like incredible transformations in people. People would have had years of therapy or had years of somatic work, and they would be spending 45 minutes with me, and there would be these profound shifts. So I started teaching it. So I set up an intuitive coaching academy. So in that, I teach people to trust the messages that are coming through, how to protect their energy, how to protect the space so they can receive the messages, and then how to use that to transform clients' lives. Because, you know, when I sit down in front of anybody, there's messages that want to be delivered to that person, and that's my job, to be the conduit for it. So that's where the intuitive bit comes in. It's like I use my body and my senses to understand what's coming through.
Tell me a story then. Tell me another story. I'm here for fucking stories.
You and your stories. Honestly, if I'd known you could ask me stories, I would have sat and thought about them all. Stories about... Well, I'll give you an example of... This is a really nice story. I had a woman who came on a retreat I ran in Crete about a year and a bit ago. And it was a business retreat, really, using a lot of intuitive skills, but it's for people who wanted to grow their coaching business.
Do people know you are this?
Yeah, like 100%. Yeah, they know what they're getting. I think the way that I brand and market myself, well, you can tell me, it's very clear that I've got these kind of psychic gifts, the language that I use. A bit different, yeah. And she came to this retreat. She was talking about almost kind of stalling a bit in her business. And honestly, I knew that she wasn't there for that. I knew that she was there, and it was all about the heart, and it was all about love. So we started doing this work, and I could just feel all this trapped energy in her heart. And I was doing a session with her, and we were talking about her business and her ability to receive. And I said, let's go beyond your business. Like, what do you really want? And she'd been a single mum with her kid who's now grown up. She's 60. And she's like, I want to be loved. I want to be in love again. And I knew that's what she'd come to me for. So I did all this energetic work on shifting and opening her heart back up. Now, what's amazing, that within a month when she got back, she met her partner, Chris, and then they got married within a year, and he came on my retreat that I had a year later, like a few months ago. So I had her and the husband that she'd manifested through doing that work. So that just shows you the power of... If I'd sat there and just used my head and thought, well, she just wants business, but I knew that wasn't the reason that she'd come. Like, my job's to activate people, and whether that's to activate you to make more money or to grow your business or to find love or to get more in your masculine or more in your feminine or to heal, that's my job. And I know when I sit in front of somebody what it is that they're
What are they
needing.
coming for? What's the main thing that people come to you for? Because I feel like you sort of like... are in this sort of business space.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I feel that it's like high-end CEOs and people, you know, you've got this...
But I do work with a lot of CEOs, but I work with a lot of like sports professionals, you know, athletes, people who are in the public eye. And people tend to come to me and they don't always know why. They're like, there's something about you. And I can do a huge variety of things. So I can help people... I think the big thing that I do is help people get to the truth of who they are. And a big thing for me is about giving people freedom to be completely unapologetically themselves. So
it's a big statement, that, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big statement.
How the hell do you get to something like that?
Well,
how does somebody get to something?
Yeah, well, you start by looking at the stories that you have become attached to. You start by looking, we're the product of our environments, our ancestry, our parents, our society, and we come into this world and we're like pure love and light, and then all of a sudden we come into a world that tells us that we're not enough, and tells us that we need to be more of something, and tells us that we're a bit much or don't shine too brightly, who pump us with fear in the news, in the media, in all different ways. And people lose themselves. They lose the true essence of who they are. And my job is to sit with somebody and get them to see beyond that, to get to that bit where you feel that kind of bliss and true sense of who you are within you. Then once we connect to that, that's the driving force in your life. And that we all have it. We all have our own soul blueprint. So if you listen and tune in enough to your soul, it's continually nudging you like, take this path, take that direction, do this. And it doesn't make sense. And we're all in this battle as human beings with that ego and the mind that's running a narrative that says, well, don't do that. It's scary and it's unfamiliar. And I am an absolute believer. If your body knows, your heart knows, your feelings know, and the more that you honour them, the more magic happens. And I have followed that in every area of my life, from my business to my relationships. I've done some really brave things.
When did you start that journey? When did you? I know we talked about it last time. But when did you truly go, right, I'm doing this?
I was kind of forced by the universe, and that was more... So I had this dream of wanting a business. I had 2 young children, and I was working for a big management consultancy, contributing to the bills in the house, 50-50. And, I needed my job to bring the money in. And I had sign after sign after sign that I was supposed to get on the path of having my own business, of which I ignored because it seemed too scary. And I thought, well, I'll wait for a promotion.
What are the signs? What kind of...
So everything that I needed to go right in the corporate world went wrong. So I'd be about to get a promotion, and then my boss would leave and something would happen with the paperwork.
So that's a sign.
Yeah.
So most people just see that as a failure and as a what's it, where you...
No, any obstacles are just detours. I just wasn't listening, and I would, my childcare arrangements would fall through, or anything that I needed to go my way in order to get something to happen in the corporate world wouldn't happen. It was just thing after thing after thing. And they were trying to put me on a different path, but I was too scared. And then, I don't know whether I said this last time, but I don't know why, but I decided at the beginning of about 6 years ago, the beginning of the year, I was going to do a yoga course. Yeah. So I was very much in the masculine. So it was all about what could I do? What were the goals? I do Shavasana at the end of a yoga. I think it was a waste of time. Everything was about how can I be fitter or stronger or thinner it was all those kind of goals. Yeah. And then I went to this yoga 3-week thing. I remember I used to have to scrape the ice off my car, and I went, and about a week in I was having extraordinary experiences. I was seeing things, seeing colours, seeing shadows, and seeing bright lights, seeing numbers, seeing almost computer codes running.
Were you in Shavasana?
Not necessarily, could be in different poses, and then could be in Shavasana. And then about 12 days in, we were doing a lot about surrendering. And what I didn't realise is that I'd gone right into the feminine. And I was getting messages everywhere. I went to see Jennifer Reiki that we talk about. And she said to me, there's a massive message coming through, let your inner feminine, lead, follow her lead. Didn't know what it meant. Anyway, doing all this feminine work, which I didn't realise it was at the time. And about 12 days in, came back, looked rough as, really grey, and I was what is going on? And then I came out with shingles all around the side of my body. Went to the doctors, was crying on the doctor, saying, I can't be off work, I'm going for a promotion. And he was saying to me, it's quite a disproportionate reaction, are you stressed? And I said, well, I don't think so. And I explained I had a 2 and a 4-year-old, and my husband worked away a lot, and I was working pretty much 5 days a week, and he was it's quite a lot, signed me off. And I remember I shut my laptop and I just went to bed, and I just slept for 3 or 4 days. And when I woke up, something had happened where I just knew I couldn't carry on this path. And then that is when, oh my God, the magic that happened. So
what had happened
in
that sleep? What had happened with the shingles?
So I'd just gone into the feminine, so I'd been so in the masculine.
What's the shingles thing about?
So the shingles, that was all down my left-hand side, which is the feminine, but the shingles was the ultimate thing of my nervous system had enough, and it was just surrender. So as I rested, weird things kept happening. So a friend of mine came and popped round for a cup of tea, and she was do you fancy doing a workshop together? And this is where it all started. And I was yeah, okay, why not? And we did a workshop, and we interviewed some entrepreneurs. And I've been reading quite a lot of self-development, so I did a tiny talk for about 3 minutes about that. And it was really well received, the workshop. And then we did another one, and it got picked up by a magazine, and then we did another one and it got picked up by Nike, and they went to a Nike store, and then I got a client, and then I got an article in a massive magazine, and then my business started to grow, and then I did. So can you see how where I wasn't supposed to go, it was like obstacles in the corporate world, whereas in the business world where I was supposed to go, all these things started opening up for me. And this is why I'm such a believer in the feminine, is when you be and listen and follow your intuition, the magic happens, like 100%.
How does somebody let go and surrender when ego's attached so much to your identity?
Yeah.
How do they do that?
Well, I think you first of all have to understand that the ego's role is to protect.
Yeah.
So it's not like we want to be at war with it, but we want to understand its role, and it's very fear-based, and it really dislikes discomfort and anything that's not familiar. So it's going to be best friends with fear, and they're going to provide a narrative about why you shouldn't do things that are out of your comfort zone. So we have to recognise what that voice sounds like. So I've like always given mine a name, Linda, because she's like this kind of quite annoying, never chills out, highly strong voice that's like, well, have a holiday, but it'll be the demise of your business, or try that, but it might not work. Like, I know what she sounds like. So start by recognising what that voice is.
Interesting.
And then when you know what that voice is, you know how to respond to it, which is like, I appreciate your input, but we're not doing that. And then rather than being swept away with shoulds or the mind, it's about dropping into your body. So you've got to create space and silence and solitude and time on your own, and then really listening to like, where are you guiding me? What do you want me to know? And look, we know, like, we all know, everybody knows what's right or wrong for them. Everybody knows where they're being asked to go. Everybody knows what the heart wants and the body wants. They're just too scared to do it because it comes with change. It comes with death, the literally death of the ego, death of things that we knew. You know, me myself, having gone through a separation, have just been in a year of walking through like a dark cave thinking, what am I actually doing? My whole narrative in my head is, even for you, Caroline, this is a step too far. Like, come on. But having such a faith in that bit in my body that's like, no, you're right. And what's on the other side of this is extraordinary. Just keep going. And we all know, we do know, but we've just got to be brave enough to not just listen to it, but then show up for it. Yeah.
It's interesting to use the cave analogy, isn't it? Because like through time, people have used the hero's journey,
the hero's journey,
walking through that cave to kind of sort of like find yourself. It's dark, it's lonely, it's what's it got on the other side of it is how to find yourself. Not many people are willing to.
No, because it's so uncomfortable. Like the analogy I always think of, it's like you're in this boat and you leave the shore, and then you get to the middle of the ocean, and you can't row back, and you can't see what was behind you, and it's gone, and you're like, oh my god, like everything I knew is gone, and then you can't quite see where you're going. So I call it the void. So the void where we sit in and we're like, oh my god, like what have I done? I think that is the most potent point of creation that we have. It's like a black hole which everything gets magnetized towards. It's like when you're in that void, use your energy of like intention, visualization, asking, listening, and magic happens in that space. I feel like it's like this kind of like cauldron almost of like, you know, possibility.
So you've got this like storm around this one, not knowing I don't know.
And you don't know, and you don't know. So you think, well, if I don't know, I'm going to purposely sit in the space, and I'm going to use my energy and my intention to say, where do I want to go? What do I want to create? And in those moments, magic happens. It's like the chaos theory in the universe. That's how hurricanes and things happen, because it's a redistribution of energy. So when we cause chaos in our lives, it's a redistribution of energy. It creates space. Nature abhors a vacuum. It just sucks stuff in. But you've got to be prepared to create the space and have a vacuum. And if I use this with my like clients in business, this is how they do massive quantum leaps. Because I sit in front of them and I say, what, if you weren't scared, what would you let go of? What do you actually want? How big do you actually want to go? How brave are we willing to be? What are we willing to let go of? And they do it. Like, Tim's face. And then and then like the magic happens.
Big questions, them, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like,
let me get into your business. But yeah, it's a great question
where
to
do you
ask
want to
yourself.
go? Well, I don't fucking know. I just want to be big.
But think about things that you've done.
Yeah.
You would have had to let things go, old ways of doing things, shoulds. Because in order to get to the next level, you often have to do things differently, yeah?
Yeah, massive.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, I was thinking about this the other day. I was so focused on building brand and playing the chess game that I forgot about the performance side of it.
Yeah.
That gets the money in quickly to pay the bills for the staff to what's it. So trying to balance those two when I'm about building brand and relationships in the long game, I've got to focus about the blue, and it's not necessarily me, but to kind of go, look, I need to pay staff, we need the bread and butter coming in to understand that bit.
And that's the hard bit, isn't it? It's when you've got a team and you've got responsibilities.
Yeah.
To allow yourself to be truly creative, because you're very in the masculine of like, I need to be able to pay everybody and I need to get things done. So we're always looking for that balance of, there's the masculine, but I call it like that time for the stream of consciousness to come through. I had a mentor who explained it brilliantly to me. She said, when you're in that zone, you've got ideas flying in.
Yeah.
The last thing that you want to do during that time is to be doing like to-do lists and admin and practical things. You literally want to be in it. So it's like creative chaos. You've got ideas all over papers, it's like looks a bit mental. You don't know where things are going to go. But if you can fully surrender to that, there's the time afterwards to sit down and say, right, what am I going to do? How am I going to structure it? Where's it going to go? What's it going to look like? But people don't allow that stream of consciousness to come through. They kind of cut it off and then go back to the head. Whereas like there's this whole other world we can't see of possibility, that if you tune in, your soul's like, well, if you just follow here, even though it doesn't look how you thought it was going to, magic will happen.
Yeah. I love that bit, you know what I mean? I think that's when I do my best work, in that chaos.
Yeah, me too.
And sort of like letting go in order to be nothing so you can be everything. You're in, like you said, in that boat in the middle of the thing. You've got to surrender that you're nothing in order for you to be everything. It's the other bit, getting the bit where you're writing the list downs and doing the things so we get the performance bit of it right, that I really struggle with. So that's kind of the blue, what we talked about, that's really the business and corporate side of it. I need to work on a little bit. Yeah. When someone comes to you and say, I want to be loved, like that lady did, and I want someone to love me. How do you? What does that mean when someone says that?
Well, it means, I think a lot of people don't think they're deserving of being in a really loving, healthy relationship. Yeah. I think a lot of people are settling. I think a lot of people are scared. I think a lot of people are in things for obligation or guilt. Or I think some people have been so badly burnt that they just have shut off the heart. It's the first thing that we do, like just shut off here. But this is like where we receive from, where we tune in. So if you're shutting yourself off to love, you're shutting yourself off to other things. If you're shutting yourself off to money, you're shutting yourself off to, it's all linked. So my job with her was to first of all understand what part of her needed to be listened to and understood before we could open back up again. So we needed to hear her experiences, the story she'd created, the beliefs that she'd had, the pain that she was in, that part of her that needed protecting. So we did the work there, and then we did the energy work to kind of open her back up again. But that took like 1 or 2 days to do, but it was like an amazing thing to witness.
She essentially wants to love herself.
Yeah.
But people don't say that, do they? They want love from somebody else. Yeah,
so what we're looking for, they say that, don't they? Whatever you want to attract, you've got to be it first. So if you want to attract somebody that looks after you and prioritises you and appreciates you, you've got to do those things for yourself. So you want to be in that relationship with yourself to attract that in a partner. That's really important. We can't be looking for that connection through somebody else because we're avoiding giving it to ourselves. We want to meet people as whole people, as yes, to still grow, but I think it's really important. That's something that I've really learned over time is, you need both of you to grow, don't you? You've got both. You want both of you to be committed to that, so that you're not coming together from each other's wounds.
Yeah, which is, trauma bonding, isn't it? People,
Yeah.
if you've got trauma, you can attract each other's trauma, can't you? Which is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
How do you get the heart and mind balanced? How do you think? Because that's something. Because I'm all heart me, and then the logic side of it, I want to kind of sort of balance them up right.
Okay. Well, I think it's wonderful that you're heart led, and of course you use your mind and your masculine to drive things.
Yeah.
But I think it's like you don't want to really embrace who you are and your natural superpower, because I think that is one of your superpowers, knowing you, is that you come from the heart. And I think what's really important is to recognize what they're both like, so you're clear on each of them, and that you get to spend time with both. But in order to spend time with the heart, we've got to spend time with the body.
Yeah.
And that's something that people don't do. They're literally just operating from the neck upwards. They're thinking.
Yeah.
So if I was to ask you a question, you'd probably, I'd see you drop into your body and drop into your heart. But a lot of people that you would ask a question and they'd look up and they'd be in their head, and you see them trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And you're like, what about all of this bit?
Yeah.
It knows. There's a brilliant system that I use, which is the traffic light system. So if you're trying to make decisions on things, you just have red, amber or green. So you just say to your body, is it a red, amber or green? Red is no way. Amber is just hold off, and green is go for it. So you can very quickly, your body will say, that's red, that's green, that's amber. And you can start doing that, and then you've got that much more of that's a good mind-body connection exercise.
Yeah, because I am led by my heart, but I feel it's the hardest work to do.
It is.
Even though I'm quite connected with it.
100% is. And I think as well, I'm led by the heart.
Yeah.
And with that comes a degree of sensitivity. I don't know what you think, but I'm I really feel things. And whatever I do with such passion. So whether that's my business or the way that I love or the way that I parent, it's it's so from all of me. It's so from opening up this part of me. And that can be quite a scary, I don't know what you think, but that can be quite a scary thing to do in it. And there's a degree of vulnerability.
Yeah.
The way that I've always managed that with me is it's communication's my kind of go-to. So I always think, as long as I'm communicating clearly how I feel or what's going on, then I'm comfortable with being able to be led from the heart, but from a boundaried place. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
So I've had to do a lot of work around boundaries, because I think people are magnetised to people who've got open hearts.
Yeah.
And we just have to be really careful that we're not depleting ourselves at the expense of us, and then everybody else is getting things.
How do you put a boundary in place?
First of all, I know what they are. So I think boundary work's fascinating, because the more that you're clear on your boundaries, the less people cross them. So I always used to think it's about other people, boundaries, but it's actually not. People just respond and know when they've got them in place. It's an energetic thing. So with boundaries, I'm really clear on what my acceptable is and my not acceptable, but I'll communicate it. So I'll say to somebody, whether it's a team or a client, so say a client comes in to work with me, they get something called Voxer, which is voice note access. As soon as they come and I say, this is the way that we're going to use Voxer, please keep your voice notes to no longer than 2 or 3 minutes. Use it for really powerful questions. I'm here to support you. I'm going to be available between these. So they know, I'm communicating things. Or if I'm not happy with somebody, or I feel somebody's crossed a boundary, I'll tell them. I've never been a sulker or somebody who'll kind of silently stew. I'll be really open and honest about it. So that's how I implement my boundaries. But also, the biggest thing around boundaries is worth. So the more clearer you are on your worth and your value and what that means in terms of access to you, the more people will mirror that back to you. So I remember when I, years ago when I first started coaching, You know, I had people who leave 20, 30-minute voice notes 3 times a day on my WhatsApp, contact me all the time, more of a needy energy. You know, I was absolutely exhausted, but I didn't have boundaries in place, and most importantly, I didn't believe that I was worthy and deserving of having clients who I could have good boundaries with, or who appreciated me. I was kind of trying to over-prove and over-deliver.
Right.
When I tidied and cleaned all that up, attracted very, very different clients. And it wouldn't happen now. It just wouldn't. I believe even if I didn't necessarily set those boundaries at the beginning, people wouldn't do it, because I'm not a frequency match for those kind of people anymore.
You've got the balance. Do you think you've got the balance of heart and mind quite well, you know?
Yes. When I'm in fear, I go straight to the mind.
Right.
Still. Because I'm very analytical and I'm a real thinker, so that's the first place I go.
Even though you're led by your heart,
Yeah.
which is a kind of...
But when I'm in fear, and fear's not my natural state. So when I'm in fear and I'm scared, my default will be to try and figure it out, to ruminate, to overthink, to overanalyze. But because, you know, I'm so committed to this work now and it's second nature, I'm not in it for very long, and I'm able to drop into like the heart and the body. And, you know, I've got an innate trust in myself and an innate trust in my instincts. And
powerful, that, isn't it? Saying that.
it is. I tell you what though, but when I look at last year, I mean, it's interesting we're having this conversation this year. I look at last year, you know, changed 80% of my business. You know, my marriage ended, like big shit, like big stuff. And I would literally, I mean, it's no exaggeration, I'd be like on my knees praying most days, just saying like, oh my God, just help me, guide me. And I was just like, they were just like, just let it go, just let it fall. And I just was I was absolutely terrified. But that innate trust that I have in myself and where I'm being guided has kind of held me through a long period of self-doubt. So I think now I'm on the other side, certainly coming out the other side, like I'm really beginning to be like, oh, okay, now I get it. Like a joint venture's dropped in, an opportunity dropped in, and these things are dropping in, and I feel like really excited and like on another level. And yeah, like I can see it now, but I'm so grateful there was just that bit of me. You know, there always is, isn't there? That there's that part of us, that whether you could call it your higher self, whether it's like the universe, your guides, but there's this bit that sort of steps forward to lead us when we're unsure and wobbly. And that was the same person that came up to me when I was writing that resignation letter in my old house in the kitchen, where I wanted to be sick at the thought of like, oh my God, what am I doing? That part came in and said, no, you're right. Like, even though you don't have a business, and even though you don't have clients, and even though you just can see loads of credit card debt, just do it. And that same voice was there in 2023 when I was like, oh my, I've gone too far now. And it was like, no, keep trusting. And that bit I've got such a good relationship with that I'm prepared to just ultimately listen to it. And I'm really proud of that. You know, I think that's like the secret to all that's coming.
Who is that voice? What is that voice? Is it
Soul?
God? Is it soul? Is it your self-conscious? What is that?
It's what...
Do you need to label it? Can you just be like, look, it is what it is?
It's whatever you want to call it, like your higher self, your soul, your spirit team. Like, it's a energetic frequency of pure love that knows and loves you. And that's what its job is to guide you. It'll never tell you what to do, but it will guide you. So it's listening to that part. And it's however you want to label it. Inner knowing, gut, whatever it is for you. But we've all got it.
It's so funny because when that thing's said stuff to you before and then you've had a mistake off the back of it.
Or is it a mistake?
Yeah, thanks, Caroline.
Because, is it a mistake? Because don't you look back at things that just you feel like you've got wrong or you've failed at,
Yeah.
and have been these like great lessons. Like, is it? Like, I don't think there's any accidents. Do you? I feel like everything is like on purpose to guide us to where we need to be, or to learn.
Yeah.
I do.
But how does somebody accept that everything is for a thing when they're in victim mode, or they're in like, look, not again, fuck, it's happened to me again.
Yeah.
And to turn that on its head, to kind of go...
So you're asking yourself, rather than like... You can change your life with powerful questions. So you could ask yourself, why is this always happening to me? Not a very powerful question. Or how is this a gift? That's a powerful question. How is this a gift?
That's a high frequency question, that, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's the thing. When I work with clients as well, do you know how I know when they're really starting to transform? The kind of questions they ask me.
Really?
Yeah, completely changes. They come on Voxer and I just know, and I think, yes. They start asking me really powerful questions. You know? And that's how you know. And when we start asking ourselves really powerful questions...
You get powerful answers.
Yeah. So rather than, how am I going to figure this out? It's like, how good could this get to be?
Ooh.
You know? Yes, there's some really good questions you can start asking yourself. Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. What if this goes wrong? What if this turns out better than I could even imagine? You know, just start asking different questions. Like, you're feeding yourself. Like, the amazing things about us as human beings is like we're constantly creating. So, you know, the way that you use your words, the way that you show up every day, you know, the actions that you take, what you believe, but you're running that program and that system. You get to change it. I do this thing where when there's annoying, like, gnarly beliefs come in, I'm just like, I'm not energetically available for it. My mum thinks that, my mum has that kind of reaction. She'll hear me, I'll say, I'm not energetically available for not getting a parking space. She's like, here we go again. But, you know, things like this, you get to say, I'm not available for that.
God,
I'm available for this. Like,
you
I
do
am
that
the
all
boss.
the time?
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah, and my language, like, I'll stop myself halfway through a sentence and change it. My kids know to do it. Yeah, like, just like, watch what you're speaking. Because your subconscious is listening. It doesn't know what's real and what's not.
So you are what you're feeding yourself.
Yeah, you just got to be...
Frequency.
Just think. Have you ever sat in a restaurant or like a pub or on the tube and heard some people speak?
You can feel it, yeah.
And you
it's
think,
minging,
geez,
isn't it?
like, oh my God, you are literally speaking into existence. Start using your words really powerfully and things start changing. I did an exercise.
Is there another way of saying I'm not energetically available? Because I feel like I'm not going to pull that off.
You're not.
No, I feel...
It's a lie. That's a lie.
Okay.
That's a lie.
I can do that.
Yeah, that's a lie.
Right.
So, like, this isn't going to work. That's a lie. You could just do something like that. Just find something that just works for you.
Yeah.
That one works for you. Okay. He'd be muttering to himself around the office. It's a lie.
You liars!
Exactly. But, you know, you get to decide always.
Yeah,
and the thing is, the universe will always give us the contrast. It'll give us things that are great, things that we don't like. When something great comes in, more of that. When you're feeling joyful, more of that.
Are you verbally saying this out loud, or are you saying it in your head?
To yourself.
How more powerful is it me saying it out loud?
Oh, really powerful because of the way that your subconscious works. It's listening. Like, it's like a computer program.
Have I ever been... I don't think I've ever been mindful of what I'm saying out my mouth.
Well, there you go. I did an exercise last year. It was bananas, where I did this, like, I'd say this statement where, like, everything is conspiring in my favour. I'm open to the magic of the universe. I'm really excited to see a sign that everything is working in my favour. And I started collating evidence every day of things going my way.
What do you mean you're saying that?
Yeah, saying it out loud as an intention to the universe.
How many times are you saying it?
Once a day. And then I'd literally just start getting evidence that it was working. And more things would happen. Because, you know, it's what you focus on grows.
The universe is conspiring in my favour.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Did you come up with that?
No, I read it somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
What a weird way of saying it.
Yeah.
No, what an amazing way of saying it.
Yeah. What if you believed it?
What if I believe that?
We're a product of our beliefs, yeah. So why don't we choose some really great ones? What I do with clients is I get them, it's quite a good exercise to do, I get them to look at a belief that really works for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we get to do is we get to like what I call turn it up a notch. So say you've got a belief of, I'm good at bringing in business. I reckon that's a belief that you've got. So that serves you because you bring in business. You could take it up a notch. Like I'm really good at bringing in business and the most mind-blowingly amazing clients. So you could like add that on. And then you want to do the same with a belief that doesn't serve you. It's like, how can I just take it up a notch so it's less negative and it's more something I want? Which is, say you're really struggling with money, rather than walking around being like, I'm a multimillionaire, because your ego's like, well, you're not. You could be like, I'm really excited to see my bank balance grow. Nice. So you can just pick things that are just edging towards where you want to go, and then you take it up a notch. Because if I look at my business, when I first started out, you know, I didn't believe anyone would pay more than £50 an hour to work with me. Then I didn't believe anybody would ever join a programme unless I was doing one-to-one in it. Then I didn't think anybody would join a programme unless it was taught live. Certainly didn't think anyone would buy an evergreen programme. Then I didn't think somebody would buy an evergreen programme run by somebody on my team. And there's all these iterations through my business. Or I do an event, I didn't reckon I could have more than 3 people, then 1,000 people, then 10,000 people. You know, there's all these iterations, but at every point I've had to like take the beliefs up. So at each point there's work to be done. So I'm always saying, well, how can I go further with my belief system? How can I make it more exciting? How can I expand? Because that's all it is. It's just the power of the mind and intention and words and thoughts and beliefs and actions. You know, that's it. Simple, isn't it? Really. It is simple, but it's consistent, monotonous sometimes, where we have to continually be on what we're thinking, what we're saying, what we're feeling. So if you can catch it every time, you're like, oh, why do I feel a bit off there? What's the belief behind that? Yeah, I don't like that. It's a lie. I'm going to choose this belief. And then just keep doing it. You're always moving the needle of your frequency.
It's a lie.
It's a lie.
What are you doing this? Are you doing this at the moment, or will something trigger you, then you'll wait and then ask yourself a question?
Something will trigger me usually.
And you'll do it in the moment, or will you kind of go, look, I'll just give that...
I mean, I do walk around a bit like a crazy person most mornings, and I'll be like, everything's turning out more magically than I ever dreamed was possible. Everything's conspiring in my favour. They're my like go-to. But what I'll also do is catch things. So I'll be really mindful not to, you know, I'm not always perfect at this, but I'll catch things that are coming in where I'm creating a story about something and say, is that a story that serves me? Or is that true? Is it true? Like, could it be, is there a better belief? Is there a better thought? Is there a better way I could look at this?
Let me ask you something. So what I'm doing at the minute, and I don't know why I'm doing it, I don't know, because of all the things going on, is I'm ending up judging people when I see them on Instagram, because I feel I know the person and they're turning up as somebody else on Instagram, and I'll judge them, right? And I'm catching myself and going, why are you doing that? It's their life. Do whatever they want. What's going on when I'm doing that? Why am I doing that? I don't want to do that. That's not me, but I'm doing it. I'm like, fuck.
And do you judge yourself? Critique yourself? Judge yourself? Things about yourself that you don't really like much?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I don't know if I feel sorry for them. I don't know, Caroline. There's something going on at the minute, and I don't know why I'm asking you, but I feel that it's something I need to... Because it's like...
Well, let's look at it.
Who am I to judge someone else to kind of say, look, I know that you're not happy right now, but you're putting on this front. Why?
And why does that bother you?
Maybe, do I feel a bit sad at the minute? Maybe. Am I doing the same thing? Maybe.
Oh, I felt that.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe, man.
I felt that.
It's hard.
Are you somebody who, people would say he's like upbeat, loads of energy, like a happy guy? Would people say that about you? Would your team say that about you?
Would we what?
Your team say that about you?
Yeah.
Is it one of the things that people like about you? Okay. So that's an important part of your values and your identity. So what becomes difficult is when we don't feel like that, but we kind of feel like we've got to do the facade, and then we see people doing the same thing, and it's triggering us.
Oh yeah, it got me.
So
that.
there you go.
Yeah, it got me that.
So like I do this thing where, like I was always praised by like my dad for being strong and being capable. I'm like quite a tough cookie, like physically, or you can throw things at me, and I've got this thing about being really capable and strong and tough. And I find it, being totally honest, one of the things that really kind of like triggers me is when people are like, I feel people are being a bit pathetic. But actually, I if I was being really truthful, I kind of wish that I could just be a bit more like somebody who could just let things unravel, or be really able just to be fully supported by somebody. I think that's probably what I desire most, is to be really supported and looked after by somebody, because I don't always do that for myself. I push myself regardless. So if I see things like that where people sort of are indulging in it, it bothers me, but it's not about them, it's about me, because part of me would love to be able to be a bit more like that and not always have to be so capable and kind of crack on and beat up. So, there's a similarity there. We all have our things. And, one of the identity pieces I've built up is about being a really capable, strong, independent person. Yeah. But actually what I've realised the more that I go through my life is what a part of me truly wants is to be really like looked after and protected and held by the masculine, and to not always have to be the competent, strong one, or the one that's got it all together. So isn't it interesting?
Yeah, really
there's a big learning in that.
Yeah.
Which is great for me. Now I know, I get to explore that as I go through the next bit of my life. But it's the same for you. Maybe you don't always want to be that person. Maybe sometimes you want to be a bit quiet, introspective, a bit, Yeah. But you're supposed to, I've got to be Tim and in the room, and it's, we all have these things that are great, and we love those parts of ourselves, but we should never forget that bit. It's the bit that's of you that's looking at those things on Instagram going, oh,
Yeah.
Like a therapy session for both of us.
It's so interesting.
I don't know how you do it. You always end up like spilling my soul to you.
It's only because we're just dead honest with each other, because I want other people to be the same. And
isn't it nice?
Yeah, it's what I've been feeling recently. But, I don't think maybe I did a little bit, but, just talking to you, it does help me kind of go, I'm actually judging myself, not them.
We always are, yeah.
Yeah.
We always are.
And really, I know, because I'm like, I put on this fucking tattooed, bearded, like, look at this, nothing can fucking hurt me. That, you know what I mean? It's just like, just little Tim's fucking crying inside most days. try to get through it.
But that's the bit, isn't it? Like, when you do inner child work, which I've done a lot of, and I do a lot with my clients, I always find it fascinating. Like this, I look at me now and, I'm comfortable with being visible, and I can hold my own, I can public speak, I can do all of these things. A very introverted child, went to playgroup, refused to speak. They were like, is she a mute? She doesn't say anything, like took this vow of silence. Very sensitive, very in tune, very aware of everybody else's needs. Actually, at my heart, I think that's probably who I am. I'm extremely sensitive. It's what makes me so good at what I do. Yeah. But I can see how that like inner child's almost had to adapt to kind of function and be successful in the corporate world and be successful in this business. Yeah. And I think the more that we can look at that, like that part of us, that little part of us, and what they need and who they truly are, and make sure that they're having their needs met, then that's when it stops it playing out in other ways that aren't very helpful. And a great way to do that is just to when, say you're looking at those things and little Tim's just like, you just say, do you know what, you're safe to feel whatever you need to feel, and there's always space within me to do that. And you'll just notice a complete shift in the way that you feel in your body.
Say it again.
So you are always safe to feel what you want to feel, and there's always space within me to do that. So you're almost like, rather than kind of being with that little part of you and like, shh, and it's ridiculous and quiet, and it's not, and watch with children as well. I do that a lot with my kids, when they're having a rough time and they're upset. I just always say, it's safe for you to feel what you need to feel. You're safe. It's safe for you to feel. So I'm not trying to fix it. I'm not trying to get them to hurry through an emotion. I'm just saying it's safe for you to feel what you need to. And they're very good at processing emotions because of it, because they can cry, tantrum, do what they need to, because there's a bit of us that wants to do that. Do you imagine how different it is if I came to you and I said, I'm really bothered about this and I'm upset about this, and you were like, shh, Caroline, I don't want to hear it, be quiet, you're overreacting.
How many times that happens?
Yeah. Or if you said to me, you're safe, and I'll listen to you, and there's always a safe space for you to talk to me here. Like, why can't we have that relationship with ourselves where we listen and love that part of us, and then we're not always like fighting bits of us. I feel like the biggest growth for all of us happens when we're coming back into wholeness, not separateness. So we're not fighting parts of ourselves, or fighting the shadow, or thinking one bit's better than the other, or the ego, is awful and the soul's great. We're just saying like the space for all of it, the complexity of being human, and we listen to all of it. It's very, very different.
I'll tell you what's really profound is when you said you need more blue in your life. The things that have come into my life to do with blue is ridiculous. Right? I totally forgot about this one. But 3 days ago, I listened to a song by, I don't know what it's called Jacob Collier, beautiful artist. And he's wrote a song called A Little Blue. Okay? Yeah. So I'm sat there on the couch, just started listening to it, just like whatever. Then all of a sudden, I just start crying listening to it. Over and over again. I give myself the space to, because I try bottling it up. I'm like, here we go. No. And I just like, fucking, just let it go. And I just like let it go. Amazing afterwards. I felt amazing. But just the blue thing again, another thing.
Blue, it's a big thing, isn't it? That's coming through for you. And I love that you're honouring it and leaning into it. Because that's what it's about. Like, it doesn't always make sense when we get these messages, but the more that we can kind of honour it, then they know what they're doing. And we're always heard. Yes, if you put things out there, they'll bring you what you need: people, situations, songs, and it just like does what it needs to.
What's coming up for you next? Like, what's on the agenda? What can we talk about? What Caroline's got going on?
So I think I mentioned to you, I've got a joint venture that fell out of the sky. So that's really exciting. That's being announced in mid-April. So I'm really excited about that. And that's a manifestation for something that I kind of thought would be nice to have like last year. I was thinking, it'd be quite nice to do something with somebody else and do something in this space. So that's happening. I'm starting to really focus on more of a global reach. So I've got clients all around the world, but really starting to focus on having those like, for me, like I've got this vision of doing these one-to-one works with all these amazing people who are in positions of authority or very visible, to kind of bring the ripple effect through the world. And I can see myself like traveling around a lot in America. So I'm calling that in at the moment. I'm doing a lot of manifesting and a lot of visualization at the moment. So spending a lot of time in a dream-like state. I've always been somebody who's a bit of a dreamer, or was always in imagination as a child, still like that now. So I'm using that to my advantage and starting to think about that. And, I'm being quite honest about this.
What's to be said about that dream-like state, isn't there?
Yeah.
I used to get shouted at school for looking out window dreaming. Like, you don't accomplish anything. Being a dreamer, you're a daydreamer outside.
I think it's the opposite. I think actually the power of dreaming. Somebody asked me this the other day.
Daydreaming.
Yeah, just there's magic happening when you're in your imagination. When I look back, when I was in the corporate world and I was thinking about setting up my business, I used to go for a walk around the block every lunchtime. And I used to just dream about the day that I would have and the business I would have and the money I would have and the house I would have and the travel I would have. And I look at it now and it's all happened. But it was happening in those moments when I was dreaming. The universe was like, yep, 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 yep. And, you know, now I really believe that. I think I'm always being listened to. I don't know when it's going to happen and how. But my job's just to keep stretching the parameters of my imagination of how good it can be. So I'm doing a lot of that at the moment because last year I just couldn't access it. That was really scary for me, but I can access it now. So I'm spending a lot of time dreaming and visualizing, being clear about what I want.
What do you want? Overall, what is it that you want? What is that vision? What's Caroline's vision?
I want to leave a legacy. I want to do really powerful, impactful work. I want to activate as many people as I can while I'm here, all over the world. I want to have a lot of fun. I want to be free. I want to be in an amazing relationship. I want to feel like all this work I've done and all this like dedication to following gut and intuition and soul and honouring my freedom, I want to bring in all the good stuff so I can show other people that it can be done. I really feel that. Show myself.
Yeah, I can
also
feel
show,
that. I can feel
yeah,
that.
like I just want to show people that it's possible. Like even if you're terrified and even if it kind of takes you to the darkest places, like you can create an extraordinary life if you're brave enough to listen. And I think that's like at the moment, really, I feel like everything that's happening in my life is my work at the moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I really feel like my work is to live a life that's really true to me at the moment, and I'm not quite sure what that's going to look like. I really feel like some goodies are coming, but I feel like that's what it is. It's about being really true to like my story this year, and then we'll just see what it brings in. Mm-hmm. And we'll see. It might be worth us doing one at the end of the year, and we can have a recap. But yeah, that's what it is for me, and being happy. You know, that's what it's about, isn't it?
Yeah. I do feel that your vision is exactly the same as ours, and that is to get as many people onto the dance floor and dance like nobody gives a fucking shit.
Yeah.
To actually get on that dance floor and dance like nobody's watching is what I really want for everybody.
Yeah. And just like all these people are so confined and you know, wedded to fear and responsibility and obligation and doubt and the stories and traumas of them or others. It's like I just feel like I'm just freeing people. Do you know, I get this thing. It's almost like sometimes it gives me a bit of a sense of urgency. It's like every interaction I do, whether it's like with a client or when I speak or somebody listening to the podcast or an event, it's every time I'm activating people, it's like I almost see me working through a queue. It's the weirdest thing. That's like, great, that person's sorted, next. And then they go off and they do a ripple and it's like next. And it's like this sense of like almost urgency where I want to get through as much as the queue, because when they go from me, the ripple's starting to happen all over the place with their, you know,
they're
their
sharing
families.
and
all these amazing
How
things
does that
happen.
make you feel when you say that, when you feel like a lining up because you just went like that then?
Yeah, like sometimes I feel like, God, I hope I have the chance to get through as many people as I can. I really do.
Right.
Because the queue doesn't feel 10 people. It feels like millions. That's how it feels to me. I feel like I've got a lot to do here.
You just have to put bigger events on.
Yeah, I'm going to do an event in September in London. You have to come. Yeah, be good. So
You just got to put arenas on, haven't you?
We've
Just
got
put
to do
more
arenas,
people.
yeah.
and just like reach more people, which means
Yeah.
you know you need to do YouTube because you know you're gonna hit a lot more people,
I
aren't you?
know, that's your marketing brain. Yeah, no, I do.
Well, it isn't. It's literally
Yeah.
that because you need to hit more
Yeah.
people doing that.
Yeah.
Not having people lined up in front of you.
Yeah. I know. It's true.
Because that's scary.
Yeah.
But how easy to put a YouTube video out there hits 10 million people?
I know. That's a good point. I keep thinking about YouTube. Maybe I'll take that as a bit
What are
of
you
a
thinking
nudge.
about YouTube for?
I
Stop thinking. You just
know.
feel it, fucking do it.
I know.
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
Why are you thinking about it? Why? Just why?
I think it's just the next bit of visibility for me. Like, I was funny about Instagram. I mean, I wouldn't even, honestly, 5 years ago, I wouldn't even put a picture of myself on Instagram. I had a photo.
Why?
Had a photo shoot, wouldn't be in it. I had my sister-in-law be in it.
You had your own photo shoot with you, wouldn't be in
Branding
it.
nightmare. You would have been like absolute
my
nightmare.
God.
Because I was just like, oh my God. Honestly, how far I've come. I mean, I just wouldn't like, I didn't want to be visible.
That's why people love you so much, because you're so relatable, aren't you?
Yeah, I guess
You've not
so.
got this, you know what I mean? I know I say about people getting on the dance floor, right? And I want people to get on the dance floor, but do not go on the dance floor with a mask on. Right, I see so many people getting on the dance floor with a mask on, and it's like, oh my God, that is so hard to take off when you get there. With you, you turn up as your fucking self.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And that's why you're so relatable, because you're so honest and so you just you, aren't you?
Yeah, well, yeah.
And just sharing that story says everything about you, because not many people would share that story.
Ridiculous, I know. Honestly, it's so funny, isn't it? Yeah, I had a real thing around that. That was really difficult for me, and I had to kind of like stretch my comfort zone.
Yeah.
So, do you know what? I think it's the people pleaser in me. You know, I worry about being criticised. But I've moved beyond that. But yeah, it's the next bit for me.
It's massive, that, isn't it?
The next,
being criticised, people pleasing.
Yeah.
What are they going to think of me when I get onto the dance floor? Oh, look at him fucking dancing like that.
I've always been.
I knew he was going to dance like that. I knew he didn't have any moves.
I've always been really lucky. I've always had a really positive experience. Had a couple of rogues on Instagram, but I've always been pretty blessed with all of it. I always feel like I'm pretty well protected. But yeah, I think that's the next bit for...
What would you do if somebody said something about you? Something negative about you? How would you feel about that? Oh, God, she's just one of these life coaches, like, oh, she's just another Crystal Karen talking about woo-woo. She loves the woo-woo.
Yeah, I don't know whether I think I'm so in my, like, truth and power. I'm not sure I'd be that bothered by that.
Would you put something back to them, or would you just ignore them?
I'd probably ignore them.
I need to get to there, mate.
Oh, really? Do you respond?
I love a good response.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Not a cheeky one, nothing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I don't know actually what I would do. I would say to the universe, don't necessarily need that test, but I don't know.
Well, you know when you say you need somebody that's going to protect you?
Yeah.
You don't need anybody to protect you though, do you?
No.
But you just like somebody you could.
Yeah, just... Yeah. I think so. I think it's... Do you know what it is? I've done a lot of work around the kind of masculine and feminine. Yeah, like that kind of polarity that you're always looking for.
Yeah.
And inherently I'm a very feminine person. Like, I'm very good at being, I'm very intuitive, I'm very creative. Like, my magic comes from the feminine. It's what I teach, it's what I do.
Yeah.
And then when you run your own business, you need quite a lot of masculine, like kind of those CEO vibes, get things done, direct a team, manage people. It's masculine energy. What I think we're seeing a lot of is there's a lot of successful women who want to be able to just not bring the masculine home, or into the relationship, where they can be a lot more feminine, where they can be led and have someone else make the decisions. And that, I think, is something that I've uncovered. Is like, that's actually really important to me. Inherently my state is feminine. The more I'm in that, the more that I flourish. So I think that's probably where the protective energy comes in, of like, I've got this, I'll lead it, you don't need to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect sense. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so it's like really trying to like find that. I just think I've just learned so much. I mean, I've been on the biggest growth. I think it was like 6 years ago, I was working in a very male environment, or all about data analysis in a corporate role, where it's about logic, and I was goal-based, and everything was about being productive and what I could get out of it and the outcome. And in quite a short space of time, you know, look at like what I've uncovered, what I've learned, the business I've created, what I do, how connected I am, how I'm sort of leading the way in like energetics and psychic connection and intuitive skills. Like, it's massive. And I've been on such a profound journey of growth having done it. And I think that, of course, what you want and what is important to you changes. Like, you look at the world really, really differently. And what is exciting for me is I'm really excited to see what this version of me is a match for now. Because it's going to be very different, because I'm on a whole different like plane and frequency, and yeah.
But are you ready for that now? Because you're about to go on to do something even bigger. Having someone do you want someone alongside you to go on that journey, or is that next part of your journey that and then find someone? Or do you just kind of go, look, I'm just going to...
I don't know. I think we'll just have to hand that one over.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think... I kind of have a gut instinct about it.
Go on. Have you said it out loud? Have you said it out loud? Did you say it out loud to yourself,
Can't we save this chat for our coffee, not on the podcast everyone's listened to?
Whatever.
Well, because you've asked me, I will answer it. We can always cut it out. I think the first 3 months of the year were literally about me of this year, were just about me calibrating my nervous system, like regulating it.
Calibrating your nervous... Who even says that?
I do.
I'm going to calibrate my nervous system.
That's exactly what I do. I say that and to my clients. But I'm going to get my nervous system being from like off the ceiling to relax. I'm going to get physically, mentally and emotionally fit and strong again. And I'm going to center myself. So I have been like a hermit for 3 months. I've been out and doing bits and bobs, but I've been going to bed at 9:30. I've lost 20 pounds. I've been exercising every day. I've not really been drinking. I've been journaling. I've been like on it. And I can feel this like sense of complete connectedness back to myself. Like, I've built my self-esteem back up. All the things that take a knot when you go through like a relationship breakdown. The next 3 months, I think, are about having fun with it. So really putting myself out there. I'm traveling loads. I'm going to New York and I'm talking in Palma and Jersey and having a load of fun. Then I feel things are going to happen. Things will start stepping in relationship-wise.
Do we know what this guy looks like?
No. I can feel him. No, we don't. We're just going to see what happens.
I feel like you know what he looks like.
Maybe we'll see.
Do you want to say it out loud or not?
Yeah, we'll talk about it when we have a coffee.
If somebody wants to get hold of you, what type of people would you like to... Well, I don't know if I should get people to book in for one-to-one or just follow you on... No, let's just get them to follow you on Instagram. Yeah. Because you're going to reach a lot more people, aren't you? What are you on Instagram?
Caroline Britton Coaching.
Britton.
That's
coaching.
It. Yes, Caroline Britton Coaching. And, you know, I love it when people connect with me, send me messages, and I think people just know that they're supposed to work with me. I tend to come in at really important, significant parts of people's lives, I'm a big catalyst for change, transformation, and people will just know. They'll be like, I don't know why, but I feel like you're supposed to help me. Yeah. And within 5 minutes of sitting down together, we'll know why that is, whether it's business, personal, relationships, whatever, trauma, whatever it is, we'll know as soon as we sit down.
Let's finish there. Thanks, Caroline, again. Yeah, we'll see what happens. We've got, another 6 months. I'll get back on and then we'll see who this guy is, yeah?
Okay.
We can talk about him, okay?
Okay, we'll bring him with us.
Thanks.
Okay,
no.
Thanks
for listening, everybody. Goodbye.
Tim Marner, what, you're branded with the best. Tim Marner, what, you're branded with the best. Tim Marner, what, you're branded with the best. Tim Marner, what, you're branded with the best.